being 3-2 is, I think, a little bit better than maybe at least you and I did, because we thought that Caleb Williams would go through the typical rookie quarterback progression of not being great the first week and then maybe getting his feet under him.
It's a catch-22 because a lot of people picked him to go to the playoffs. I think me and you were
just
more
absurd.
realistic.
Whoever did that needs to just stop talking about sports.
It was a lot of people. A lot of people, man.
Well, look, I guess you and I are just the ones that could see through all the bullcrap, because I never believed that for 1 second. And I also believed that the Bengals could go to the Super Bowl. But
True. We're going to leave that in the past, though.
Let's move on. Welcome in, Sports Bluff family. Week 5 is pretty much in the books, and the preseason is over, in case anybody was wondering. Because nobody plays in the preseason, I guess today we finally saw what it's like to have real NFL teams scoring points. There were points scored everywhere, Tristan. Everywhere. I mean, except for the Miami Patriots game, but come on, give me a break.
I think that is the biggest thing. I think I texted you maybe second quarter, third quarter of the early games. I said, well, at least we're done with that non-scoring stuff because we are off and rolling. We're getting 30, 40 points in every single game. Scoring is back. I didn't think we would see such an increase in scoring this week, but this is kind of what happens, as you said, and we've been talking about on this show, when you don't play the preseason. You know that the first, 4 weeks-ish is sloppy, and then teams start to get better. They start to get up to speed. So now we're starting to see real football. I'm more taken aback by this season, but I feel like it's more unpredictable than past seasons. Maybe that's not true. Maybe they all kind of feel that way, and I'm just not in the moment. But as long as we've been covering it, this is our third season doing it together technically, it feels like it's wide open. It feels like the league is anybody's. I don't think there's a clear Super Bowl favorite right now. It changes so rapidly from week to week, and I'm really interested to see how the teams evolve and who kind of, takes the top spot and says we're the ones to beat. Because right now that's probably Minnesota, but even they don't look completely dominant.
Yeah, I think there's a few teams that are kind of on the outskirt edge of, being successful or being Super Bowl contenders rather. But I'm with you. Aside from the Vikings, who else? Who else is that number one team? And I think we'll dig into the weeds of that in today's episode. But I do feel like the season is flying by like crazy. I look back and everything's a blur, man. I can't believe week 5's already wrapped up. I love football. I can't wait for the rest of the season. I'm also glad that college extended into the playoffs now, the playoff system, so we'll get more of that. Football's all around us. We're getting into the really fun seasons of the year with spooky season coming up, with Thanksgiving, Christmas. It's going to be a wild ride. Let's jump into the show today. Take it away, Tristan.
The Houston Texans defeat the Buffalo Bills 23-20, Ryan. That's not the headline, though. The Bills losing is okay. We knew either team could win this game. The shocker and the reason we're leading the episode with this, we wouldn't lead the episode with just Houston winning. Okay, yeah, happens. Good team beats a good team. It's the way it ended. Sean McDermott, I really think they should have checked to see if him and Joe Brady were wearing Texan shirts underneath their uniform or whatever they were wearing. I'm not trying to be hyperbolic. I'm not joking when I say to you, the call at the end of the game is one of the craziest I've ever seen. One of the most inexcusable I've ever seen by a coach. Tie game. Just to set it up for anyone that might be unaware, tie game, 20-20. Bills get the ball on their own 3. We just, take it to overtime. Let's see what we can do. We clawed back into this game. The Bills have struggled to move the ball all game. Sean McDermott, Joe Brady, whoever, they decide to pass the ball 3 straight times. 3 incompletions, so Houston doesn't even have to burn a timeout. Then they punt it back to Houston, who gets it on the 50 because you're on your own 3. Instead of just running it, taking it to overtime, or forcing Houston to use their timeouts, Houston ends up kicking a long field goal to win the football game in regulation. As a Bills fan, tell me your thoughts and we'll get into the nitty-gritty. It is an inexcusable decision in my opinion.
Yeah, Tristan, this is 2 weeks in a row now with a really questionable offensive play call. 3 incomplete passes to pretty much hand the game over to the Houston Texans. I couldn't even watch it. After the third one, I had to just turn away and just realize that, the game's over. They're going to get the ball back at the 50-yard line. They're going to get a field goal. It's perfectly set up for the Houston Texans to win. If you rewind back to last week, you had the questionable trick play call, and not even that it was a trick play, but just at that certain point in the game, it was a little strange. And now you have this. So it starts to make me question Joe Brady's entire offensive scheme. I don't know what's going on. It's concerning that Josh Allen went 9 for 30 today. 9 for 30. You heard that right.
No, I understand that. Hold that, though, because we can dig into that more. I want to bounce off what you said, where you said it makes you more concerned with Joe Brady, and talking about the trick play against the Ravens last week, the reverse play that cost them any chance of getting back into the ballgame. That I can put on Joe Brady, because Sean McDermott, maybe he hears the call in his ear. Maybe he's not an offensive coach. I'm giving him a little leeway. He shouldn't have let the trick play happen last week, but let's just say that was Brady. Okay, no fault of McDermott. This right here, even if Joe Brady called 3 straight passes, that's the job of the head coach. That's what the head coach does. Even if he's not an offensive play caller, that's where he says, hey, we're going to try to run it here, make them use their timeouts. Hopefully we can get a first down.
Yeah, even if they went like one deep pass, right, just to try to get out of their end zone or something, and it didn't work and it failed and the clock stopped because of an incomplete pass, Sean McDermott should say, all right, well, guys, now we're going to run the football and we're going to burn the time and we're going to try to fight for overtime.
Well, that's why you run it on first down, inarguably. There's no case to be made of passing on first down. You run it on first down, see how many yards you get, you know what I mean? See if you get 2, 7, 5. That affects the next play call. But in that situation, Houston would have probably called their timeouts, obviously, to try and get the ball back. But then you could have got a few yards from running it, punted it, and then they wouldn't have any timeouts. That's the only reason they were able to kick the field goal, because Houston got good field position and had all of their timeouts. I'm not joking, man. I think that's like a fireable offense. We know this is a rebuild year for Buffalo. Okay, we're aware of that. But this takes it to a whole new level. This is not just, we don't have the talent. Like the receivers, they were a problem today. Shakir was out. I can live with all of that. But when you do things like that, to me, this is almost just the nail in the coffin of proving that it's just time for a new regime in Buffalo. Because I can't imagine you would ever see Kansas City do that, or San Francisco. It's just, Scott Hansen on Red Zone was screaming. He was so baffled that it was happening. You can't defend it.
This is something that it's beyond getting worked out. We just need to revamp. Like, it's time to completely overhaul. Like we said last year, you got me on the fire Sean McDermott train, or at least move on from him. You're not going to win a Super Bowl under McDermott. And I believe that now. At the first of the year, the first 2 games where we dominated, it looked great. First 3 games, right? Yeah, first 3 games. We dominated, looked great. Josh Allen had to play a fourth quarter. It was terrific. I loved it. But we were also playing pretty talentless teams. I'm not going to say talentless because it's still the NFL, but it was very subpar teams. And we were also within the week 4 realm, so teams aren't fully figured out yet. They're still in that quote-unquote preseason mode. What's clear to me is if you're going to try to fix something, you have to get Josh Allen a number 1 wideout. I know that Shakir is serving as that purpose. He was out today. It was very evident. And it wasn't that Josh Allen, I know you said we're going to dig into this, so I'm going to go ahead and bring it up now.
Yeah, please.
9 for 30. A lot of the balls that he threw today were very catchable. And some of the receivers just didn't come down with them.
So just to play off that, Keon Coleman, 5 targets, 1 reception. Kincaid, 6 targets, 2 reception. Mac Hollins, 6 targets, 2 receptions. So everybody called, 2 for 6, 2 for 6, 1 for 5. I think there were a lot of bad throws too. I don't think Josh Allen played good, but I agree with you. There were also drop balls. There were missed opportunities, which also the fact that you went 9 for 30 or at the time 9 for 27 further implies how stupid it is to throw it 3 straight times on your own 3.
Right. Yeah. And you mentioned that, still don't be too hard on yourself. The Bills are still leading the division. Yeah. They're leading the division of crap. Okay, you got the Jets, the Dolphins, and the Patriots. Let's be real. The Dolphins aren't anything without Tua. Who knows what the rest of their season will be like? The Patriots, not even going to go there because it's just pitiful to be a Patriots fan. And then the Jets. You have an old man leading a kind of mid-roster and maybe fighting to get Devontae Adams, which who knows if that'll even help. We'll talk about that later. And then you got the Bills atop the division. I don't want to be atop a division of crap. I know we'll still get a playoff spot, being top of the AFC East, but I don't want it this way. I want us to be a good team, a well-rounded team. We have the running game down. James Cook is electrifying. But when you're down and you need points, you can't run the ball, Tristan. You got to be able to throw it. And guess who Josh Allen has to throw it to? Nobody. He has these receivers that either they can't catch the ball or he's inaccurate. I don't think we're going to see it be fixed this season. I hate to see it, and I hate to say it. But I just don't think that the Bills are going to right this ship. They may win the AFC East. That's not what I'm saying. I just mean internally, this problem seems like it's not going away.
No, it's probably not. I think I am not as sold as like the number one problem is receivers as you are. Don't get me wrong. Could they use a receiver? Yeah. Could they use a number one? I get it. But we knew that was going to be part of this year. This year is a rebuild. We all went into the season. Everyone knew that this was a rebuild year for Buffalo. Now, people like me thought they could still compete in the rebuild, but we knew it wasn't going to be ideal. This is kind of a take your medicine year for all the cap decisions you made and paying all the old players, right?
Right.
I think one of the big problems for me is just the defense, which I guess, they did okay today, only allowing 23, but CJ Stroud had 331 yards passing. I mean, it felt like he could do no wrong. I mean, Houston had 425 yards. Buffalo had 276. When they needed it most, they got it. They couldn't get off the field. And then when you pair that with Josh Allen not being able to complete any passes, it really showed you how vulnerable they were with Shakir out. Because then the defense isn't scared of anybody. Like Keon Coleman's talented, but he's a rookie. And the only reason they scored that one was him making that spectacular touchdown.
Yeah, the one that he went out of bounds almost twice on.
Yeah.
So you said it's supposed to be a rebuild year, and I would agree with you. Like, I fully anticipated this to be a rebuild year, restructure. Let's see what we can do in 2026, 2025, whatever year it is. The problem is we anticipated that the Dolphins and the Jets would be much better than they are, and we didn't anticipate that the Bills would be atop the AFC East in Week 5. At least I didn't. So then you ask yourself the question, as a Bills fan, or even in the Bills office, we're in the fight. Like, we have a good chance to make the playoffs because of the competition within our division. So how much are you willing to invest into this run when nobody thought that you would be able to be there?
In my opinion, and this is not popular, and it's easy for me to say because I don't have any stake in, the game. I'm not a Buffalo fan, but just from the outside, I would resist. I would just try to let the season play out and say, we knew this season was going to be tough, okay? We knew it. We're going to let it ride. Because even if we went and got Davante Adams, that doesn't fix the defense. Like, I know the defense is good at times, but it has its weaknesses. Sean McDermott, to his credit, does make the defense look better than it is. Yes, Davante Adams would help. Yes, he could make a difference. The devil's advocate to that is, yeah, but Kansas City is kind of down this year. Baltimore's kind of down. It doesn't seem like there's anybody really up there, like, taking the AFC by storm. Somebody has to win the AFC. So I can understand the argument of saying, let's go get him because let's capitalize on this year. But I feel like that does further hurt you from getting the rebuild behind you. Because if you get Davante Adams, unless you can get the Raiders to eat a bunch of the salary, but regardless, you're going to lose at least a second-round pick next year. You're going to lose more cap space. I don't know if it's worth it.
The problem is if it's not worth it and you get to this point and you make the playoffs and then say you win the first round, then Sean McDermott is still around for the next year because he's done it again. So it's a catch-22. It's, do you want to invest in it and try to make this one run, and then if it doesn't happen, then you can kick Sean to the curb? Or do you hope that kind of you tank a little bit, come in third in the division, maybe make a wild card spot, but hopefully not, just so that way you can say, hey, Sean, man, you've tried for 5 or 6 years now. We're not wasting any more time with Josh Allen. Please see the door on your way out.
I think they need to do that anyway. I just don't know if they will. It's like him turning the season around last year saved his job. It did. But you wonder if this year they'll pull the plug on him, if they're just going to keep riding. And McDermott's a good coach. Like he is. But you're not going to win a Super Bowl with him. It's just, I just don't see it happening, especially when they make these kind of decisions. Because you can't tell me there's not. And to go back like this isn't the first time. The fake punt in the playoff game against Kansas City on your own 15. That gets forgotten because then Kansas City fumbled out of the end zone when they were about to score. But Buffalo went for a fake punt with Damar Hamlin. It got absolutely stuffed. And then Kansas City's literally scoring to go up 2 scores. And the game's over, but they fumbled through the end zone. I'm not like making excuses. I'm just saying we forget that because of the fumble and it made it a close game. He makes decisions like this a lot. They need to move on from McDermott regardless. So maybe as a fan, you do hope this season just ends up kind of going off the rails.
Troubling time in Buffalo. Well, the most exciting game of the year so far, in my opinion, happened today. It was the Bengals against the Ravens. The Ravens defeated the Bengals in overtime, 41-38, in a thrilling matchup. Offenses on display. We haven't seen a game where the offenses have just slugged it out throughout the entire game and defenses were just non-existent until today. Let's talk about the defenses for a minute. Which defense between the Ravens and the Bengals is more likely to course correct? And also, who is it most important for them to do so?
I think the answer to both is Baltimore, because I don't think the Bengals defense can course correct. I think they're terrible, and that's just who they are. They can't stop anybody. They don't have the personnel. We talked about this in the offseason when we were previewing the teams and where we thought everybody would end up. We said the Bengals, defensive moves is either really going to pay off or it's not. It could go one of two ways. It's not paying off. We know Lou Anarumo is a great defensive coordinator. He's having to do things he doesn't want to do. He's having to blitz a ton to create any kind of pressure. He's not being able to run his scheme effectively the way he wishes to because he doesn't have the players. Sometimes that's just what it is in football. Sometimes it's not a coaching issue. Sometimes it's not an X's and O issue. Sometimes it just comes down to the personnel and you don't have the guys. And they don't have the guys. That's just it. They're not going to change that. The Bengals season has gone off the rails. They're 1-4. The Cincinnati Bengals are 4-11 against the AFC since the start of last year. So against the teams you have to beat, 4-11. This is a problem far deeper than just 2024. We're just really now seeing it come to light. You saw Joe Burrow in his post-game press conference. He said, "We are not playing championship football." He said, "We are not a championship football team." I respect him. And you feel so bad because coming off the injury, Ryan, Joe Burrow, 30 for 39, 392 yards, 5 touchdowns, 1 pick, averaging 10.1, a clip. He was fantastic. Joe Burrow has been fantastic basically all season. I think he had one choppy game. They run the ball okay, not great. Losing Joe Mixon, I think, obviously hurt them. They don't have much of a running game. But the problem is not the offense. We saw that in the Commanders game. I don't think their defense can go anywhere. I don't think they're a playoff team. I think they're just stuck in shootouts. As for the Ravens, they are a playoff team. Their defense has been more up and down. We've seen games like the Bills game where the Ravens defense puts it together and looks really good. But they're kind of reliant on big plays and splash plays and turnovers. I don't feel like the Ravens defense is consistent. I don't feel like they overwhelm you. Teams can move the football on the Ravens defense. I wonder if they're able to fix it. We knew the defense was going to take a bit of a step back, losing Mike McDonald, losing a couple players that had basically career years last year. It doesn't need to turn into the 2023 Ravens defense, but it does have to improve because you can't let everybody hang 41, 38 points on you.
We talked about it last week, and you had asked me if this was the turning point for the Bengals when they beat the Panthers last week, and I said no. That was a turnover in my book, and I stand by that. I feel like I was right today. The reason is I don't think that this offense is the problem. The numbers speak for themselves. If you had Jamar Chase on your fantasy roster today, you probably won your matchup, okay? The dude went beast mode. I don't think that the Bengals can right any ship or do anything. They can't course correct. They can't fix their defense this year. It's out of the cards for them. But also last year they had struggles with it. So what did they do in the offseason? Has anybody asked that question yet? What happened in the offseason? Because it seems like nothing's improved.
Yeah, they didn't do enough and that's the thing. They brought in Geno Stone, needing him to have a better season than he has had. Not that he's been the sole problem. The Bengals are notoriously cheap. They don't spend a lot of money. The fact that they paid Joe Burrow was surprising. I don't know. I don't think this is something that gets solved. This is something that you have to wait till the offseason and have a big overhaul in the players. There's nothing you can do this season. You can make it better than what it is, being basically the 5th worst defense in the league, essentially, if you look at statistics, but it's not going to get much better.
So let's talk about that just real quick. The rest of the season for the Bengals, is it a lost cause?
Yeah, I think so. I don't think they're a playoff team. The only defense that allows more points a game than the Bengals is the Carolina Panthers. The Panthers allow 33 points a game. The Bengals allow 29. The Bengals defense is worse than Jacksonville. Just to let that sink in. It's crazy.
Rough. If you're ever worse than Jacksonville in anything, you need to fix problems. Your life.
No, they can't do anything, man. The season's over. Joe Burrow knows it.
And they go to play New York at home next week. And, buddy, I got to tell you, the Giants didn't look too bad going against the Seahawks today without their top receiver, Malik Neighbors. Tell me that there's not a chance that the Giants could win that football game. And then after that, you go to the Browns, one of the worst teams in the NFL, a terrible quarterback, and not a great defense either. The Browns' defense is okay, but
very disappointing.
It's not like we know the Browns to be, right? So the Browns are also a divisional matchup. Do you think that there's any chance that the Bengals finish over 500 this year?
Man, it's hard. I mean, when you start 1-4, think about the hole you have to dig out of. No, I don't think so. It wouldn't shock me if they end up finishing one game above 500, but I don't think so, man. I really don't see it happening. It feels like, and at a certain point, like how good Joe Burrow is playing is going to break, because maybe it won't, but it's like he'll end up getting hurt or getting sacked or something's going to happen to where he just can't carry it. It'd be one thing if he was carrying the team and they were winning a couple of these. You know, if they had 2 wins, 3 wins, they have 1, and it was against the Panthers. And it's not like they blew them out. That was a close game.
And I'll admit that today, that Lamar Jackson did magical things on the field.
He did.
To extend plays. I understand. But the fact is, you still let them score 41 points on you. That means your defense isn't good. You let a receiver that hadn't done much of anything up until this point go 7 of 12 for over, I think, 100 yards or close to it with Zay Flowers. So your defense is definitely the problem of the team. I've seen this offense improve. I mean, they've scored darn near 30 points almost every game they played this year, except for the Patriots. But, you know, other than that, 25, 33, 34, 38, like they've scored points. So that's not the problem. The problem is the defense. I'm sorry, but Bengals, you don't finish over 500 this year. There, I said it.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's not even
and
a hot
they were my
take.
Super Bowl team.
I know. It's just you have to acknowledge the reality of the situation. And I want to even like hedge the bet a little bit just by saying the Bengals were up 10 points. Like they were in a good position to win this game. And then a Burrow interception, like the one mistake he made all day, allowed the Ravens to get back in it. And then on the field goal that, you know, probably would have won the game, the holder messed it up. And then he shanked the field goal. The punter, who was the holder for the field goal, he messed up the snap when he was trying to get it. And then McPherson shanked it. But that's the point. When your defense is that bad, you can't allow for those mistakes. The Bengals only made like 2-3 mistakes all game. You know, usually you can get away with that. When you're giving up this many points, there is no room for error, and it's just not sustainable.
The San Francisco 49ers fall to 2-3 after a close one, losing to the Cardinals 24-23. Man, I'll tell you, I didn't anticipate sitting here at week 5 and saying that the 49ers are just 2-3. The type of roster that we talked up preseason, the type of defense that we said that they were going to have, the type of offense with all these star players around, all of it has kind of fell completely apart. Now, I don't know if there's some kind of weird, like, hex put on the 49ers or something. I don't know what's going on with them, but one thing I do know is that they're winning games that they're losing games that they should not be losing. They should be winning some of these games. The games that, it's the Cardinals. The Cardinals, Tristan, they come in, they beat the 49ers, and I know that the score was really close, but I still feel like just downfield passes and stuff, the Cardinals kind of handled their own against the 49ers today.
They absolutely did. 100%.
So what do you think the problem is with the 49ers? Tell me, because I don't know what it is.
I'm not worried, actually. I'm really not worried because the loss
because Brandon Ayuk showed up today?
Well, that was nice. 147 yards, finally. Finally, Brandon Ayuk knocked the rest off. Hey, that preseason window, we're telling you, man, that after 4 weeks, teams started to get together. Here's the thing.
Jordan Mason fell off the face of the earth, but whatever.
No, he played good. He had 89 yards, man. I mean, he was solid.
Yeah, it didn't translate to fantasy points, though.
One, they think they're getting Christian McCaffrey back. I'm not sold on that. I have no clue. It seems like we hear one thing one week and another the next. Regardless, I think either way they're okay. Because if you watch this game, it was really just a couple 49ers mistakes that piled on at the end. Now, we know Arizona is a, talented team, a frisky team, and also division rivals. We know that teams can lose to worse teams in their division because they know them better than anybody else. San Francisco played really good in the first half. They blocked an Arizona field goal, returned it for a touchdown. Bosa intercepted Murray once, which led to another field goal before halftime. 49ers had the lead, 23-10 before halftime, Ryan. It felt like they were in control. And then it was just a couple mistakes. That's it. It's nothing egregious. It was Purdy throwing an interception on the first drive of the third quarter off a tipped ball. It wasn't like a terrible pass. It got tipped and a guy made a crazy pick. Jake Moody got hurt and left this game in the second quarter. So that affected what the 49ers could do. They were in at least one situation, if not multiple, where they could have normally kicked a field goal, but they didn't because Moody got hurt, okay? So that kind of thing happens. Also, Jordan Mason, he fumbled in the red zone when they were about to go up 2 scores with 6 minutes left in the game. So Mason fumbles, your kicker gets hurt, you get interceptions off tip ball, and then on the last drive, San Francisco has the ball with like a minute 50 remaining, driving to go win. Purdy got hammered when he was releasing the ball, and it was an interception. Also, you had Kyler Murray convert that crazy 4th down pass to Marvin Harrison, where he's going backwards 20 yards, about to get sacked, and he just throws it up, and Marvin catches it. It's not like the 49ers were thoroughly beat by Arizona. A bunch of things had to happen. Moody had to get hurt. You had to have the wild Purdy interceptions, the Jordan Mason red zone fumble, the crazy Kyler Murray play. If they had gone out there and gotten, manhandled, yeah, I would say we got a problem. But things like that happened. I'm honestly not worried because they were the better team on the field today. They just made too many mistakes.
I'll tell you where they made the biggest mistake. Red zone attempts. 6 attempts. They were successful on 1.
Yes.
17% in the red zone.
That'll do it.
That's a huge problem. And usually they would rely on Christian McCaffrey. Or
their kicker. Some of that was like one, I know they went for 1 4th down and didn't get it, where normally they would kick the field goal.
But also, coming into this game, the Cardinals had one of the worst rush defenses in the league. So we anticipated that Jordan Mason would have a great game, and he wasn't able to find the end zone. It's concerning to me that all this talent circles the offense of the 49ers. You got Brock Purdy standing in the pocket, scrambling around for 11 seconds. They made sure we knew that. I think it was Mark Sanchez on the call, but he counted down with a little time clock. 11 seconds that Brock Purdy scrambled around just to end in a sack. You have George Kittle, Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, Jordan Mason. Those 4 guys are better than most offensive rosters across the league. So why are you struggling in the red zone? What do you think watching this game do you think stood out to you the most? Was it just the play calling? Was it not relying on the run as much? What was it?
Man, I'm not trying to just reiterate. I really just think it's mistakes. If you go back and pay attention to the game and the way the drives handle, it's just a couple drives that end in mistakes, because the first quarter, San Fran puts up 10. The second quarter, they put up 13. They were shut out in the second half. But again, like I said, Jordan Mason fumbles with 6 minutes left in the game when they're literally about to score. They went for it on a 4th down in the red zone because they didn't have their kicker. They couldn't just take the 3 points. I don't think one of the interceptions happened in the red zone. They might have. It's just mistakes that aren't typical of the 49ers. This isn't a team we see do that every week.
You say that, and coming out of the half, there are 4 drives. Drive number 1, interception. Drive number 2, turnover on downs. Drive number 3, fumble. And number 4, interception.
So there you go. That's it. And the first interception was a tipped ball. It wasn't like he threw a bad pass. It got tipped. A guy made a great play. What was the second drive? Turnover on downs.
Yep.
So that's where normally they would have kicked the field goal, which would have won them in the game. But if you look at the scoreboard, but Jake Moody was out. The third drive was the fumble when they're literally about to score a touchdown. I mean, they drove the ball at will. And then the 4th one, they got the ball with a minute 50 or whatever. So Purdy's trying to go on a 2-minute game-winning drive. And it gets picked because he gets hit right when he's throwing it. It's just, this isn't one of those games you can watch and be like, oh no, it's panic time. It's just one of those games where a couple things go wrong. I don't think this is a dominant 49ers team like last year that's going to cruise control to the Super Bowl, but I'm not writing them off just yet. I think they're going to be okay.
I'm not writing them off, but I am starting to sound the alarm just a little bit because week 5, you should have a winning record by week 5. From the teams that you've played, you should have a winning record by now, even with your biggest asset out with Christian McCaffrey. I think you have what it takes to be a successful team. It's time to regroup. I know Shanahan's going to do it. He's too good of a coach not to. I look forward to the 49ers winning a lot more games this year, but right now, I'm just a little bit concerned. Tristan, let's talk about the Bears. They dominated today. They wiped the floor with Carolina. 36-10 victory. It was the game where Caleb Williams started to shine. It was the game where everybody else on the Panthers went home early. Tell me this. Has Caleb Williams arrived?
I think he has. Now, I don't think he's, Jaden Daniels, lock it up, best quarterback in the NFC, offensive rookie of the year, nothing like that.
He's sure not Jaden Daniels.
He's not Jaden Daniels, no. There's only one of those guys. Obviously, great day, 20 for 29, 304 yards, 2 touchdowns. 2 points I want to address about Caleb Williams and why I think this is a good sign. The thing about Caleb Williams, and we said it was going to be rocky start because he's a rookie. He has done what I want to see from my rookie quarterback. Like if I'm, the Bears owner, the Bears GM, Ryan Poles, whatever, I'm very happy because what has he done? He has gotten better every single week. Literally, week 5 has been his best week so far. You have seen steady improvement. That's all you can ask for from a rookie quarterback. Even the games that were bad in like week 2, week 3, like that Houston Texans loss, he was better than the week before. And then this game, he finally had what I think is a great game. Okay, it's against the Carolina Panthers. I understand, but other teams played the Panthers too. You know what I mean? They're still an NFL team. And he still has to deliver. Regardless of who the team is, you go watch some of those passes. I don't care if he was playing against high schoolers. He still had to put the ball in that position. And he was throwing absolute dimes. He didn't make very many mistakes. The other part of this, the Bears finally helped him out. Swift got 21 carries. Now, he wasn't a game breaker. 21 carries for 73 yards, only averaging 3.5. But
and a touchdown.
And a touchdown. But it took some of the weight off of Caleb Williams, where they haven't been running the football. Roshan Johnson, he got 10 carries. Yes, the Bears weren't really a threat of gaining big yards on the ground, but the Panthers had to be aware that they were running the ball a lot. They handed it off, 38 times or something. That is what they got to do because the first couple weeks, they were asking Caleb to throw it 40 times and he's a rookie. Today, he threw it 29. He looked fantastic. Yes, he's arrived. This is the Caleb Williams we thought we would see. He's starting to put it together. We knew he would. We knew he was too smart. This is what we expected from him, and he just continues to improve week after week after week.
34 rushing attempts, to be precise. Do you buy into DeAndre Swift? Do you think he's really arrived? Do you think I know we're talking about Caleb Williams arriving, but I want to switch it over to DeAndre Swift because throughout the first 3 games, he was non-existent.
Yeah.
We thought that he was going to lose his job to Roshan Johnson, and then he comes in week 4, has a terrific game. And if you're a fantasy owner of him, everybody told you to sell high. I did. And now he comes in this week and gets 20 fantasy points. So is he here to stay, or was it just matchup dependent and he's done great against these defenses he's faced?
So I'm not really I can't speak as much to the fantasy, their fantasy guys.
I'm not necessarily asking you to do that. Just in general, do you think DeAndre Swift is the guy now, or do you think that we see a regression? Is this just all like a facade?
I don't think DeAndre Swift is a very good running back. I think he has really poor vision. I actually think that's the biggest knock against him. There are times where you see him literally just run into his offensive line, or he'll have a play where they're running like an outside stretch, which the whole point of a stretch play, for people that may not know, you can stretch and go really far outside, or you can cut back to the A gap, the B gap, the C gap. You have a lot of options based on how the defense plays you. Swift makes mistakes in those situations all the time. Again, I'm not X's and O's guru by any means. I know, everyone. Calm down. It's shocking. Trust me. But I'm just being truthful here. I just don't think he's a very good back. Is he still going to be the bell cow for Chicago? Yeah, probably. It's not like Roshan Johnson's anything to write home about. I would like to see Roshan Johnson get some more carries just to keep it diverse so you're not overwearing DeAndre Swift. But I wouldn't expect him to be a game breaker or anything. I think we know who he is at this point.
Caleb Williams to DJ Moore is a sight to see when they're firing on all cylinders.
Yes, sir.
I love it. I love watching it. But at some point in time, you're going to face better defenses than the Panthers.
Right.
So who is that next man up for the Bears that has to step up and start making those catches? Is it Rome Odunze? Is it Cole Kmet? Is it Keenan Allen? Who is that second guy for Caleb Williams? I would anticipate you're going to say Rome Odunze.
So obviously it should be Rome Odunze. I think Rome Odunze has been good. I mean, 5 receptions on 6 targets, 40 yards, 8 a clip. Rome Odunze is doing well, doing again what I expect from a rookie, slowly getting better week by week. What I want to see from the Bears, if I'm the coach, if I'm running it, I want to see more involvement from Cole Kmet. We saw it a little bit today. He had 57 yards on 3 receptions. I think Cole Kmet is one of the most talented tight ends in the NFL. I think he's one of the most underrated tight ends. We don't talk about him a lot because Chicago doesn't use him a ton. I want Kmet to be a more integral part to the offense, so then that can open up more lanes for Odunze. But I also think that comes with Caleb Williams just being more comfortable with him, because we saw that today. As Caleb Williams gets more and more comfortable, the more he trusts his guys, the more he's willing to put it out there. He's starting to not miss the deep shots like he was in the early weeks. It's just, you've got a young team, man. You got a lot of young guys that have to kind of learn the ropes. The NFL's hard. It's way harder than college. And I think they're developing nicely. It's the path for the Chicago Bears. It's all green and it's all trending upward.
Next week, you get the Jags at home. So I think that's a winnable matchup.
If you're the Bears, you should win that game.
Right. You said that circled as a win, but before you go into your bye week, because you come back and you play the Commanders, the Cardinals, and then the Patriots, but then you have the divisional opponent, the Packers, the Vikings, the Lions, the 49ers, the Vikings, the Lions, the Seahawks, the Packers. You have a rough second half of the schedule. So you really got to get your wins under you early, and I think that's what they've done so far. Being 3-2 is, I think, a little bit better than maybe some, at least you and I did, because we thought that Caleb Williams would go through the typical rookie quarterback progression of not being great the first week and then maybe getting his feet under him or completely crapping the bed like we've seen other first-round quarterbacks do. But if you get the win against the Jags, if you get the win out of the bye against the Commanders, and you win against the Cards and the Pats, I don't care if you lose every other game for the rest of the season, I still think that you've done a lot better than most people thought you would.
Yeah, it's a catch-22 because a lot of people picked them to go to the playoffs. I think me and you were
just
more
absurd.
realistic.
Whoever did that needs to just stop talking about sports.
It was a lot of people. A lot of people, man.
Well, look, I guess you and I are just the ones that could see through all the bullcrap, because I never believed that for 1 second.
Yeah, me either. That's why you should
I also believed that
subscribe.
the Bengals could go to the Super Bowl. But
True. We're going to leave that in the past, though.
Let's move on. The Cleveland Browns continue their season of misery, getting blown out by the Commanders 34-13. Jaden Daniels feasted today. They gave up 7 sacks. 7 sacks. Deshaun Watson hit the ground 7 times, Tristan. For that guy to make that much money and be sacked that much, and I know that sacks also are, they come from the offensive line. I get that. I get that.
Most of these didn't.
No, they did not. So that's what I'm saying. Is Cleveland going to bench Deshaun Watson and cut their losses? And if so, when?
The fact that they haven't is crazy. They should.
Right.
But I don't think they're going to. Even Kevin Stefanski said afterwards, no, Deshaun's our quarterback. This is a situation. Stefanski didn't want Deshaun Watson. Okay? He was happy. Because Kevin Stefanski, Ryan, is a good football coach. He's won Coach of the Year twice. He took the Browns to the playoff, won a playoff game. Took them to the playoff twice, actually, with Joe Flacco. It was the owner who wanted to go spend $250 million fully guaranteed for a guy who had 31 lawsuits against him and hadn't been good in 2 years. It was the owner that wanted to do that. So, this is what you get when you do that. If Kevin Stefanski had full control of the football team and could do anything he wanted, he would bench Deshaun Watson. You cannot tell me that he does not have they didn't tell him, hey, you can do anything you want, but Deshaun's not being benched. I don't know why. It's over. Me and you said it before this. We said it before he ever even played a snap for the Browns. Go back to our very first episode of Sports Bluff, our first ever audio episode we did, audio only back then. We said anyone who expects Deshaun Watson to be good is crazy. The man hasn't been good in 2 years. You don't just come back from that. Now it's been 4 years, essentially. It's over, man.
You know what I'm going to do about this? Nothing! So what I'm gonna do is piss and moan like an impotent jerk and then bend over and take it up the tailpipe!
You've been here before, haven't you?
The dude doesn't want to play football. Ryan, there was a point today where they wanted to go for it on 4th down, and Deshaun Watson did you see that? He just walked off the field. And Kevin Stefanski's standing there like this, and he just hangs his head because Deshaun Watson doesn't care, and Stefanski can't do anything because he's not the leader of the football team. It's an embarrassment to the organization. It's an embarrassment to the NFL The man is looking at the rush the entire time. He has guys open. He has options. Well, it's pathetic. They should bench him. They should have benched him 3 weeks ago, but they won't because the owner says, no, I spent $250 million on him. You were right. They need to cut their losses. That's the only option. It's the only way out of it.
1 of 13 on third down conversions for the Browns.
I know.
8%. 8% on third downs. And you're getting paid millions of dollars to be a star quarterback. And yet your head coach turns around, and I get it's right after the game. Like, he's not going to throw him under the bus right then, but there has to be some true evaluation going on in that locker room of what are we going to do for the rest of the season, because we cannot continue to roll this way.
Okay, so can I interrupt you? Because you just said something good. What you just said, there has to be some evaluation in the locker room. I'm glad you said that, because that's the thing. The players know it. So you're going to start to have a mutiny. You're going to start to have them turn against Kevin Stefanski, even though it's probably not on him. And we all know it's the owner that put them in this situation. It doesn't matter. The players they're probably already this way. They're starting to get restless. They're going to be like, why are we doing this? We've seen Jameis Winston play football. We know I know Jameis Winston's not superb. He's better than Deshaun Watson. You can win games with Jameis Winston. And at this point, you just need to get a win. Like, the season's going to be lost. Put him in there. Let him start a couple games and see if you win and get momentum. It's like, because they paid him so much money, they're saying, oh, we just got to ride with him. This would be the same thing as if Sean Payton and Denver just said, well, we don't have any choice. We just got to keep starting Russell Wilson, and he would still be their starter. Look at Denver. They're kind of, maybe turning the corner. Yeah, you're going to have the big cap hit, but that's going to be there whether he's there or not. You might as well put the better quarterback on the field, because, like you said, the locker room and the players, they're going to start to get really fed up. They probably already are.
Yeah, because you can't trade him. Nobody's going to take on that contract with the level of play that he's producing right now. They wouldn't trade
him for free. No, another team wouldn't take him.
That's right. Yeah, not even as a backup at this point.
No, of course not.
So you're not sitting there thinking, okay, well, if we just give him 2 more weeks, if we just give him 4 more weeks, if we just give him whatever, things aren't going to turn around. This is just a sheer lack of commitment on Deshaun Watson's part. It's crappy
lack of talent.
It's talentless football play. He looks like he hasn't been an NFL quarterback for any given period of time. He looks confused out there. Lackluster. I mean, there's all kinds of words you could use to describe him. So you're going to have to, whether you finish the season with him or not, you're not going to keep him next year. So why not just go ahead and cut ties now? Suffer the loss, eat the crow, put Jameis Winston in, and start winning some football games.
Exactly.
Because look, I got news for you. Hitting the ground 7 times, it's going to land you back in a massage parlor.
Exactly. Yeah, you're going to need one after 7 sacks. And most of them are all caused by the quarterback. Like, the offensive line played pretty good. He's running around in the pocket when he's got guys to throw to, watching the rush, getting scared. It's embarrassing. I'm going to say, they might think they're going to keep him next year. I think you got to move forward expecting you got to cut him after this year. You gave him the fully guaranteed contract. That's on you. That's on the owner. Hey, business people make mistakes. So if the owner had any self-awareness, they would be like, okay, messed up. It sucks. I missed on that one. But like you said, put Jameis Winston in and you will win some football games. I'm not saying you're going to make a deep playoff run, but you'll win games.
That's true.
It's crazy.
That's 100% true. It's been proven.
Last stat real quick. Yards per pass, Jaden Daniels, 7.1. Deshaun Watson, 3. 3 yards per pass.
So I'm glad you brought that up, because I know this segment was really geared toward the terrible performance by Cleveland and Deshaun Watson, but I do want to mention, because we don't have it anywhere else in the show, to talk about the Washington Commanders offense with Jaden Daniels. I know we've talked about it last week a little bit, but what I want to point out today is the rushing game. The rushing game, man, it has improved for the Commanders. I think that this is their way of winning football games, because Jaden Daniels, we know that he can't throw the ball 50 times every game. We know that he can't be a magician every single time. It's worked so far, but I'm just saying you have to have a successful rushing game in the NFL current day to be able to win and have longevity through the season, right? I think that Brian Robinson Jr. and Austin Eckler, their combo, is a very it's a decent combo to have in the NFL.
Like, of course. Daniels can run.
Out of all the running backs in the NFL, to have these 2 guys who are both pass-catching running backs, or can be, to be so successful between the tackles as well. Brian Robinson got 2 touchdowns today, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So having that successful rush offense mixed with the crazy talent of Jaden Daniels that nobody thought would be here at this point in the season, do you think that this is a recipe for the long haul? Like, do you think this is sustainable throughout the rest of the season if they can continue to figure this out week after week?
Offensively, yes. It's one of the most complete offenses in the league. And I'll just take a minute to give credit to Cliff Kingsbury because he's done what you see good coaches do, where maybe their first stop didn't go as well. Head coach of the Cardinals, which, by the way, wasn't terrible. He had his moments. He had Kyler Murray look good, made it to the playoffs and got spanked, but it was clear he wasn't really ready for the moment. He has reinvented himself. I didn't like the hire, just pure transparency. I don't think you did either. I might be wrong. When they hired Cliff Kingsbury as the OC, I was like, man, I don't know about that. He has he's analyzed himself, reassessed his position, and he's become a better coordinator. He's got this offense humming. The Commanders' downfall, if they have one, is going to be the defense, which we'll touch on a little bit later. The offense is great. It's a unit any team is going to be scared to face, especially with Daniels playing like this. They just can hit you so many ways. They can hit you over the top. They can hit you with the backs. They can throw it to the backs, or Jaden Daniels can run. It's, the quad threat. They can do anything they want. They put up a lot of points, and they are one of the most fun offenses to watch in the NFL.
All right, guys, it's time to play a brand new game here on Sports Bluff called Impressed or Depressed, a game that I just invented today, and we're going to see how it goes, so leave us a comment and let us know what you think. Impressed or depressed? Impressed meaning that you love what you see, you're doing a double take, you want to see it again, and you're a little curious about it. Depressed being you want to go curl up in the fetal position and cry yourself to sleep like I do at night being a Bills fan. First up, let's go with the Giants defeating the Seahawks. Tristan, are you impressed or depressed?
You have to be depressed if you're a Giants fan. Look, okay, congratulations, you got the win. But you let the Seahawks come back, and let's just be honest here. The Seahawks aren't as good as their initial start led you to believe, the 3-0 start. The Seahawks' offensive line is a big, big problem, man. If they had a good offensive line, they could really contend in the NFC. And we talked about it preseason. We said that was going to be the make-or-break element for the Seahawks. Well, it's breaking because we've seen when they have to play good teams, they fall apart. They couldn't beat Detroit because of the offensive line, even though they managed, defensive line, they had injuries. It's just... the Seahawks, I think, were overinflated, so let's not get ahead of ourselves. Yes, the Giants beating the Seahawks is cool. It's good. It makes everybody feel good. Malik Neighbors wasn't there. Good on you. But does anyone expect anything from the Giants? They're going to win a couple of these games every year. They're going to win 2 or 3 games they shouldn't have. They're frisky, but ultimately, it's Daniel Jones. It's the Giants. You know what they are. This game doesn't do anything for them going forward. It doesn't save anybody's job. So I'm just going to not take more out of this than what it is and just being a one-off game. This game did nothing for me about either team. They kind of both are who I thought they were. Ryan, the Washington Commanders defense, impressed or depressed?
Buddy, I am going to go impressed here. And last week, holding the Cardinals to only 14 points, I thought maybe was an anomaly. But I'll tell you this, after holding the Browns to about 212 yards, 100 through the air, 100 on the ground, I know that the Browns are a bad team. But when you also couple that with what they did to Arizona last week, I think that you're getting a more improved defense here. I don't think it's anything to be ashamed of. I think as a Commanders fan, you can start to put hope in this defense now because at the beginning of the season, you were one of the teams where if you play fantasy football, you started all the wide receivers that played against you because you could let air yards go through like Swiss cheese. I mean, it was crazy out there. So as a Commanders fan, that I'm not, but if I was, I would be super excited to say that my defense is here to play football, and I think they're going to continue to shut down teams, especially when your offense is getting ahead by 3 touchdowns by the second quarter.
You're a little more hopeful than me, but I like it. Optimism. It usually doesn't last long on this show.
Let's talk about the Denver Broncos and really their fantastic win today against the Raiders, 34-18. Are you impressed or depressed about the Broncos?
I'm impressed with the Broncos, man. I am impressed, and it's because of one thing. It is that defense.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Bo Nix chewing out Sean Payton on the sideline.
I did like that.
Okay.
I did like. By the way, just a little interjection. That came from, I saw a Cowherd interview with Drew Brees, and he asked Drew Brees, what's the advice you would give to Bo Nix when he's getting like chewed out by Sean Payton? And Drew Brees said, give it right back to him. He said, Sean Payton likes that. So then the fact that we saw that today means Bo Nix heard that and he took Drew Brees' advice. I love that. Like, that's really cool.
You still got to have a big old sack of balls to go up to Sean Payton and give it back to him like that.
Brees said that's exactly why Payton likes it. He said he wants his quarterbacks to be confident, to, feel like they can have a say in it. So I think Sean Payton really likes Bo Nix, but the reason I'm impressed with the Broncos is the defense. They are 4th in yards allowed a game. They are 3rd in points allowed a game. This is an absolutely suffocating defense. Patrick Surtain, arguably the best corner in the league, had a 100-yard interception return today. They smother everybody. I'm a Chiefs fan. We play in the same division as the Denver Broncos. I am not looking forward to playing them. Before the season, and you can vouch, I was toyed with putting the Broncos as my 7th seed in the AFC because I was like, I think they'll be good enough to squeak in. Ultimately, I went against it. I don't know if they are going to be that good, but they're one of those teams that I feel like they can beat anybody on any given week if the defense is playing like this. And Bo Nix is solid and getting better each week. You have to be impressed.
Well, the Chargers aren't looking that great this year. They already beat the Raiders today. It's looking pretty good for them to finish 2nd place in this division.
Last one for the game, Ryan. You are a certified Jaguars hater. Number 1 on the internet, number 1 on Japanese Twitch streams. Let's talk about it right here. The Jaguars, they got the win. I called it. I said they had to win a game eventually. They defeated the Colts. You impressed or are you depressed?
Depressed. I can't help it. I know that everybody's going to be on me about, oh, well, Trevor Lawrence showed out today. He did great. He played. It's his birthday, okay? The guy, out of all the days of the year, aside from Christmas Day, which I don't think they're playing, what day do you play good football? It's probably your birthday. Why? Because he's probably looking forward to the after party later. I don't know. But what I do know is that Joe Flacco almost came back and won this game. It was very, very close, a lot closer than it should have been because the Jags seem to have handled it in the first half, and then the second half, they let it slip away. I'm not worried that the Jags put up 497 yards of total offense. I'm worried that the only throws that Lawrence seemed to make, those big impressive throws, were to wide open players. So until you can tell me that Trevor Lawrence is ready to play smash mouth football and hang in the pocket and throw and deliver darts like Baker Mayfield's doing, I'm not going to be impressed for a long, long time. Matter of fact, with the Jags, I'll just go ahead and hang my hat up and say I'm never going to be impressed with them at all while Trevor Lawrence is under center. I'm sorry. That's my take on them. I know that you picked them, and you can rub it in my face all you want to that they won, but they were this close to losing that football game.
No, I actually agree with everything you just said. I won't rub it in your face. I just picked them because, first off, I thought Anthony Richardson was going to play. If I had known Joe Flacco was playing, I wouldn't have picked him. So I just got lucky there. I just picked them off the sheer fact of they're going to win a game or two. I was like, they can't just lose every game, but I'm with you. I have no faith in them. I'm not believing.
There was a few first downs that Joe Flacco threw the ball like behind or beside a lot of the receivers. And honestly, I know if everybody can go back and take away plays that they messed up on, it would be a totally different game. But I think those were kind of the deciding factors. Like, it was very important throws that you didn't, during the game, it didn't seem like it would be that important. Oh, he missed a guy that was wide open. They got to punt the ball. But when you do it 3 or 4 times, it's like, well, if we would have got 3 or more first downs, this game would be totally different. We'd run the clock down and, you could have won the game that way. But look, I say this, and I don't say it lightly. Joe Flacco is a successful quarterback, good enough to win you football games, and the Jags, they just outmatched him today. I'll be willing to admit that, but I'm still not impressed with the Jags overall. They got lucky today. I think Joe Flacco just wanted to be nice and give Trevor Lawrence a birthday present. And
to further your point, Ryan, people that are going to be like, well, Trevor Lawrence played good today. He played good today. It's not like he played excellent. He played today. Yeah, that's kind of what I expect my $55 million quarterback to look like. That's what I want him to look like.
Just stop your sentence at, he played today.
Yeah, he showed up.
He did what was anticipated of him. He's like begging for a participation trophy at this point. Like, coach, I finally threw a touchdown. Like, it has to be pretty depressing over there at the Jags, even with the victory. It just doesn't seem like it's in good faith. All right, guys, that's our Week 5 show. It's in the books. On to Week 6. Always looking forward, never behind, especially as a Bills fan. You never want to look that way.
I don't know. You might want to this year because I don't know.
I know what's over that shoulder.
Don't
and I
know
don't
where
want
it's
to look
getting
at it.
any better. I'm kidding. You're more pessimistic than I am. But
I really
overall, would you say the best games of the year so far this week? I think this was the best week of the year.
My favorite game of the season was the Ravens and the Bengals today.
Also, we didn't talk about it because we record on, Sunday night, but the Falcons game on Thursday night, Falcons-Bucks, incredible football game.
Kirk Cousins set the week off with a trajectory of like, hey, guys, y'all got to catch up to me because I'm over here throwing for 500 yards. 500 yards, man.
With Matt Ryan in the building.
What?
Matt Ryan brought his kids and Kirk Cousins did that to him. I mean, that should be a hate crime or something.
This is what Daddy couldn't do.
It's impossible to dislike Kirk Cousins. It is impossible.
Do it. Ever since the Netflix came out with the whole QB thing and I watched him, I admire him as a man, as a player. What he's able to do off that horrible injury last year, it's a lot better than what Aaron Rodgers is doing. So let's just put it at that.
That's true. Falcons are trending one way, Jets are trending the other. We hope we're trending the same way as the Falcons. Thank you to everybody for watching and enjoying the show. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, tell your friends about it if you want old school football talk with some comedy, self-deprecating humor. For Ryan, I am Tristan. We will see you guys next week. Have a safe week and enjoy it. Goodbye.